At 2:14 in the morning, a soft vibration skimmed across the dark, gentle enough to stir me without urgency. I'd already been half awake, the way you are when something in your life has been quietly misaligned for too long. Her suitcase sat unzipped near the bed, clothes folded in careful stacks as if she'd meant to finish later and forgotten. I told myself I was being helpful when I knelt down to straighten things, smoothing fabric, restoring a sense of order that felt increasingly rare. That's when I noticed the blouse. Pale satin, creased from travel. Nothing unusual until the light caught a faint mark near the hem. It wasn't fresh. It wasn't anything I recognized.
Powdery, set wrong.
My heart didn't race. Instead, my thoughts went strangely still, as though some internal alarm had decided silence was more useful than noise. The phone vibrated again on the nightstand. A notification flashed briefly, an unfamiliar name, a single symbol shaped like a key. I set the blouse down carefully, as if it were fragile or dangerous. When she came home later, I didn't ask questions. I kissed her hello, asked about delays at the airport, listened while she talked through stories that sounded practiced. Her gaze slid past mine, not nervously, but automatically. That detail lodged itself in my mind. Guilt tends to stumble. This didn't. This was rehearsed. The days that followed rearranged themselves around small observations. She headed straight for the shower after work. Her phone never rested on a table, never faced up. When she touched me, it was precise, intentional, like following steps she'd memorized to keep me satisfied and unaware. Something in me began to organize, not anger, not grief, but intent. I stopped reacting and started watching. I noted schedules, pauses, the way her body stiffened when she lied. I sent the blouse away under the pretense of a routine fabric test, never admitting to myself what I expected it to reveal. Truth has gravity. You don't need to chase it. It moves toward you on its own. Phone records showed nothing suspicious. She was meticulous. Still, I caught her reflection in glass when we were out together, smiling at messages that had nothing to do with me. I stayed pleasant, cooked dinners, laughed at the right moments. I played my part so well that even I almost believed it. The envelope arrived unmarked, the contents written in detached, clinical language. The stain didn't belong to me. It carried an infection, rare, fast-moving, unforgiving if ignored. The kind doctors discuss in hushed tones. I sat at the kitchen table for a long time, the paper flat beneath my hands, thinking about how easily I could have intervened. For a moment, I told myself that none of this mattered compared to survival. That vows and history meant stepping in regardless. That moment passed when I opened her laptop. It had been left unlocked, whether through carelessness or confidence I'll never know. The files were buried under a dull, practical label. I watched the recordings in silence. She looked different there. Open, eager, attentive. The man filming gave directions. She followed them. What I felt wasn't jealousy. It was erasure. When I finally spoke, it was days later. I slid the lab report across the table between us and asked calmly if she understood what it was. The color drained from her face. She didn't argue. She cried, pleaded, reached for me as though proximity could undo time. I stayed still. I told her I knew about the recordings, that I'd seen all of it. I told her I'd learned the truth in time to help, and chose not to. Not out of spite. Out of clarity. She had already decided whose risk was worth taking. I wasn't willing to be her last resort. She screamed, then broke down, calling me names that fell flat in the air between us. I stood, put on my coat, and left the paper where she could read it as often as she wanted. I didn't turn around. People imagine revenge as something violent or dramatic. It isn't. Real revenge is quiet. It's leaving someone alone with the reality they tried to hide. Knowing rescue was possible and realizing it was never guaranteed. I didn't lose a partner that night. I shed a lie. And when I walked away, I felt lighter than I had in years.